A spectacular backdrop, feisty conditions, an organisational nightmare, a day of racing that never was, a shattering collision and a renewed focus on safety. SailGP's plans for an action-packed weekend in New York certainly worked out, but not necessarily in a good way.
It's dangerous for everyone going into the conditions of tomorrow of just anything could happen. And I think we'll see some of the lower ranked teams have great results and we'll see some of the top ranked teams have poor results. It's just that sort of day coming up.
Being in New York is amazing, no? Such an iconic, it's especially iconic city, and sailing between Governor's Island and the Statue of Liberty is, it's just amazing. Also, for us, it's been a nice venue to compete in. We had some good results, and we will try to do everything to give us a chance to repeat.
Yeah, so our race course is, it's set in the water, but the water is moving. So the tide is the water moving below our race course, which has a big influence on how we pick, our lines to the next mark. So if you have a lot of current, that means, we have to be very different in our decision making on where to put our maneuvers.
Things began to unravel before the boats were even afloat. F-50s have to be craned into the water fully rigged, and that can be tricky. Wing sails are difficult to cope with at the best of times. In New York, they were getting swirling gusts of over 30 miles an hour, and that disrupted operations to the extent that only 4 boats were able to be launched at all on the first day. SailGP have been mindful of the risks of craning in since Sydney in 2023, with massive damage caused by a squall hitting a technical area while boats were still being craned out. Following a review of that event, procedures were changed and weather trigger points introduced, and it was this that kept most of the fleet ashore. Out on the water, it was windy, with the Australian Bond Flying Ruse performing a spectacular faceplant during warm-up. The resulting damage meant that they were off games for the rest of the day.
Yeah, we got a bit out of control and had a big sort of nosedive, and unfortunately we did a lot of damage to the boat and we weren't able to fix it in time to get any racing.
For the spectators in the grandstand on Governor's Island and TV viewers all around the world, it was a bit underwhelming. The USA team didn't make the first start, so it was a British and Spanish match race. That, for the record, the British won. The Americans made it for races 2 and 3, but trailed behind Spain and the Brits both times. With 9 teams watching from the sidelines, I was reminded of the 2005 Formula 1 Grand Prix in Indianapolis. Then 14 of the 20 cars were unable to compete because their tyre manufacturer couldn't guarantee their product's safety at that circuit. The resulting race of the 6 remaining cars, which were using a different tyre maker, was a farce. Spectator outrage set back the cause of Formula 1 in the States for several years. And while there's no direct correlation with SailGP, it's interesting to consider what can turn off audiences. Back in New York, the messages coming from the organisers were mixed, to put it mildly. As skippers were being interviewed post-race, rumours were circulating. Firstly, points would be awarded for the races sailed, then they wouldn't. And then it was suggested that the whole New York regatta would be relegated to a non-point scoring exhibition event, a bit like an international football friendly against Peru. Eventually sanity broke out. Saturday's results would not count, but the 3 races on Sunday would, to be followed by the familiar 3-boat final. Sunday brought less breeze and the whole fleet was able to be launched. But after Saturday's heroics, in which the Spanish won 2 of the 3 races that no longer counted, there was disappointment. Hydraulic issues before racing started meant that they were unable to play any further part. Emirates GBR made a superb start and led at the first mark, a lead that they didn't give up. Phil Robertson, helming Red Bull Italy, had his elbows out early on. An assertive luffing move put a penalty on the Swiss. We'd see a bit more of this action later in the day. Team USA sailed a solid race and finished second behind the British. with the Swedish Artemis team completing the top 3. Race 2 and Taylor Canfield on the American boat made an even better start than Dylan Fletcher had in the first race. A good first beat consolidated their lead for the Bonds Flying Roos, North Star Canada and Red Bull Italy having a proper ding-dong behind them. The USA took the win on home waters, which had them at the top of the leaderboard after 2 races. Race 3 was dominated by a nerve-jangling collision at the start. Red Bull Italy, helmed by Phil Robertson, realised that they were early and luffed at the line straight into the path of the unsighted Americans, collecting the Brazilian team as well. Astonishingly, no one was injured. North Star Canada took the race win, with Rockwool Denmark and the Australians finishing 2nd and 3rd. But that start line collision concentrated minds. So, the final 3 comprised Bonds Flying Roos, North Star Canada and Emirates GBR. Slingsby hit the line bang on time and with superior boat speed that took the Australian team to the lead at the first mark. There was a split at the first gate, with the Brits choosing to go left. Fewer manoeuvres on the beat took Dylan Fletcher into the lead, which was maintained at the second downwind gate. Now it was Slingsby's turn to go left. It worked for them and they retook the lead, but as they approached the final gate, Fletcher jibed onto port in a desperately tight Hail Mary move to round the mark. Slingsby was on the inside and avoided a collision as Fletcher luffed on the reach to the line. Amazingly, no penalties were awarded and the Bonds Flying Roos took the event victory. So, another Australian win, that's 3 in a row and puts them 11 points clear the British at the top of the season table. But for me, the abiding memory of this regatta is the devastating collision at the start of race 3. Phil Robertson seemed visibly shocked when he was interviewed ashore. His talk of the potential for loss of life was chilling.
Yeah, look, I'm still a bit baffled by it. You know, we're a boat that's clear ahead on the start line, sort of coming up the start line to stay, behind it, and you got 2 boats run into you from coming in fast from behind, and yeah, it's I'm not sure what I can do. As soon as it came into my vision, I made a pretty evasive action to try and avoid it, and that's about as close as you want to come to losing your life there, I'd say. It's sort of you're at the mercy of the others, and you've got 5 humans on the boat there on that side of the boat, and getting run into at 60 kilometres an hour by another boat is not very fun.
I think fantastic day for the team, or weekend for the team, feeling like we've started to get some of our old form back, and especially if you look to Rio, where we were on the same configuration in similar conditions and we really struggled. So yeah, really proud of how the team came out firing, but I guess ultimately slightly bittersweet that we didn't quite get the win in the end.
It's really tough. That's the hardest racetrack. It's the current, the wind, underwater objects, there's so much going on, and yeah, it just felt like we were just trying to keep our head above water, and then we made the final, and then we had a great race.
Not for the first time, questions are being asked about the fundamental safety of these spectacular machines. Crowded courses, hyperfast reaching starts, and once again coming in for scrutiny. And SailGP have another major logistical challenge on their hands. It's been reported that both the Italian and American boats are going to be up against it to make Halifax, Canada in less than 3 weeks' time. On the other hand, we hear the Kiwis will be there. Let's see.